Hey, this is Lou Mangello from WDW Radio, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Let's do this.
The tangents this week continue all the way to episode 310. Yes, this one is 310 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. What kind of sycophant would you like me to be? Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every the virtual table and see who joined us this week.
This is Brittany and Troy. You can actually hear me now.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hello.
Brittany got new tech, and now she doesn't sound like she's in a box.
Yes.
Yay.
It's wonderful to be able to hear her again.
The dulcet tones.
Yes.
So right off the bat, in case anyone did not see my note in the little blurb with the episode, I goofed with the numbering and said last week was 310, and then I was looking and I was like, oh nope, that was actually 309, and I'd already edited the show, so it was too late for me to put in a little blip of me going, I screwed up. So yeah.
So no
good,
need
Rachel.
to send your emails. We know.
The labels are right. It's just what I say at the beginning of last week's show is wrong.
After 300 episodes and change, I think we're it's okay if you make one goof up.
Yeah. I was bound to screw up the numbers eventually, so I think that's pretty good.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very good.
Oh, maybe I was just really excited to get to this one. I don't know.
Well, gee, I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Not that I didn't enjoy last week's episode, but yeah.
Oh.
I have personal experience with this week's subject matter. But we'll get to that.
Yes, we shall.
I think the only thing that would make this even better for you if it was a different breed.
Yes.
A certain different breed.
Yeah, we'll get to that too.
Yes, we will.
But first up, we need to do the news, and our only bit of news actually is good news for once. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for this, but February 19th, mark your calendars, all 5 seasons of The Muppet Show are coming to Disney Plus.
Holy cow! I mean, with all the companies and stuff that the Muppet label has been with throughout the years, I mean, they still don't have what is it? Muppets Take Manhattan isn't on Disney Plus yet, nor is Muppet Space. But it's I was like, okay, we're probably never going to get Muppet Show because that it was
the rights are tied up somewhere else.
It was NBC if I remember correctly, and so I just was kind of resigned, we got these movies, it's fine. And then I see this news and I'm just like, excuse me, what? And I'm floored, I'm flabbergasted, I'm all of those wonderful adjectives. And you know what, I guess Disney, they own everything, so I guess I shouldn't have underestimated them. So you get to binge all the classic Muppet Show episodes.
Pigs in space.
All wonderful celebrity appearances. And...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Stop watching those clips on YouTube.
Yes.
That I've seen.
Yeah, we watched all you could get the Muppet Show via DVD via the mail on Netflix for a while. And we watched several seasons of it that way. But it was always a huge waiting list. Because people just really want to get they really, really want to get their hands on the Muppets. So yeah, whatever streaming licensing had them blocked from Disney Plus, they are now going to be free to come where they belong. So
pretty much, yep. So Now if they could get Muppets tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All the Muppets. Just all the
Yes.
Muppets.
All
the
the
Muppet
Muppets.
things. So,
Please and thank you.
Right?
yep. Yeah. So that's our only piece of news. So yay for once.
Happy news.
Good news. It's always a
Right?
good thing. Of course,
get
as
that
we're
much,
recording
really.
this, we're getting close to the end of the month. So if you haven't voted and participated in the book club for this month,
Please
you
do
do so.
so.
So there is that, and in other housekeeping, latest episode of Gold Standard is out. We just did Casablanca, which was an interesting conversation because once again we were all over the place on how much we enjoyed this movie. So
The funniest thing is, as I actually recently saw Casablanca all the way through for the first time when I went
that
to go
was me.
visit. Yeah, well, I saw it when I over Christmas. We went to go visit my parents. It was on TV, and we were all just sitting there, and I was like, I'd never seen this before, and I kind of knew the story, but I didn't know it I didn't know why, why is she getting on a plane? Why can't he go with her? Why this, why that? I'm like, oh, it makes sense now. I mean, I knew it was during World War II and beginnings of that, but I don't know. It was interesting. I'm like, I want to go back and rewatch it just so I can have all those details again, because it was fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So there's that. We'll get to a movie that I'm really excited about. It's been a while. I keep track. I finally smarted up and started, because every now and then I'd be like, oh, I wish I could remember what I gave that, the previous movie, and I finally started writing them down. So, but I've been kind of in a slump recently with just how well I like movies. So I haven't had anything higher just really in the since we started, the highest score I've given any film that's an actual Best Picture winner is an 8. So far.
She's a tough customer, folks.
I am. Yeah. I've given some high scores to our non Best Picture winners, but not even the Best Picture winners. So
I will say this, and maybe I've said it before, but I remembered it because the announcements for the Newbery and the Caldecott winners, which are book awards, and there's a whole slew of book awards now. But they were announced today, and I got an email, on my work email saying, "Here's what won." And I'm looking at them, and the ones that win are like, okay, that one's fine, I guess. But then the honors are like, oh, that one I actually liked, and that one I actually liked. And I just remembered when I was doing my library degree, one of the classes I took was children's literature or something, and the professor teaching that class had actually been on the Caldecott committee several times, and he said that the one that is the winner, because they have to have a unanimous vote of who the winner is, the one that is the winner is the compromise, because everyone has to agree on it, and they just kind of say, okay, fine, we're gonna vote for this. The honors, so the runners up, those are the ones that people actually like. And so so it's kind of a weird thing to think about.
Sounds an awful lot like the Academy Award.
Yeah, that's what I was saying is the movies, these are the ones that everyone can sort of agree on. Okay, we'll give this one the first place winner, but these are the ones we really liked, and I find myself when I'm have kids come to the library saying, I need an award-winning book. I'm like, oh, can't we do honors, because they're so much better. There's only a handful of Newbery winners that I actually am excited about recommending to kids, and when the whole school district is doing the same project, I run out of copies of those books really fast. So yeah, It's when you talk about award winners and how like I didn't really like that one all that much. Yeah, it's probably the same for movies as it is with books.
Yeah.
They have to compromise.
Yep. I think
Yep.
that's the case. Unfortunately. Ooh, excuse me. Oh. Yeah, well, c'est la vie. All right, moving on to feedback. We got some feedback from Shalane. She says that coincidentally, she had recently been talking with a friend of hers about some of those post Disney Renaissance movies that are still good, even though they didn't do well at the box office, like Atlantis. She remembers seeing it and loving it and liking the music. And she's seen some Atlantis cosplay at Salt Lake Comic Con.
Oh yeah, probably. I haven't. We got split up that year.
Yeah.
She ran off to do her own thing, and I did my own thing too. So, but
yeah.
I'm sure she found some cool stuff.
Yeah. And then she talks about how Michael J. Fox voicing Milo was a real good choice because he plays nerdy characters. He's good. Does a good job at playing nerdy characters.
Yes.
Yeah. He does kind of awkward very well.
Yes.
Yeah. So and then she lists a handful of big name actors that Disney does, they will go for a big name actor for their voice acting if they can, because big names bring in butts into the theater. So that's where you end up with people like Robin Williams and Matthew Broderick and Idina Menzel and The Rock.
Bonus when they can actually act.
Yes.
Yes.
Which many of them can.
Yes. That is true.
And they sound good for the
Rock
character.
is hilarious in Moana. So
yes.
That's the character everyone remembers.
Yeah. And then coincidentally, she says, since you guys are talking about anniversary films, do you have the 1996 101 Dalmatians on your list? As a matter of fact, yes, we do.
Funny enough.
What's a coinky dink?
Give us a couple of minutes. And Hunchback is also on the list too. I don't know when we'll get to it, but we'll get to it. And then some other movies that are turning 20 years old this year that she mentions are Legally Blonde, which we are going to do Legally Blonde at some point, even if it's not this year. And we may or may not have a special guest who loves Legally Blonde more than I thought was possible. And then Monsters Inc., The Mummy Returns, Princess Diaries, A Knight's Tale.
Ooh, I love A Knight's Tale.
Me too.
Although I might just sit there and quote it.
Yeah.
If we talk
Same.
about
Rachel, you said you've never seen A Knight's Tale? Oh,
no.
Are you in for a treat?
Yes.
Just don't expect historical accuracy, but just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yes. Enjoy.
You'll find out there's no historical accuracy in the first second of the movie.
Yep.
Paul Bettany plays a brilliant Geoffrey Chaucer. Let's just leave it at that.
Yes.
Okay. So, Rachel, you can pick off another actor from MCU in different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Paul Bettany's in the pile of names, so he'll get pulled eventually.
There is a scene, I won't spoil it, but there is a scene where the characters are they got their heads together and they're looking down, and you've got the Joker, King Robert from Game of Thrones, Vision, and I can't remember who the lady was, but yeah, so there's all these fandom people. Oh, and Wash.
Yes, Wash.
Anna from Firefly. So it's just one of those, hey, it's that guy or that gal. I haven't watched A Knight's Tale in forever. Now I need to go dig it out of my storage box and watch it. So good.
Yes.
Alrighty then. Well, there you go. Well, we'll add it to the list.
Please and thank you.
Yeah. And she also suggested that just in general we should do Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, sure, of course.
Oh, yes,
Definitely.
We'll pencil that one in. Yeah. Oh, it's such a cute movie.
Yes, it is. And then we can talk about the Stitch attraction at Walt Disney World and Stitch, how it smells like chili dogs. Yeah.
Nice.
That story's for later.
All right. we'll make a note of that. And
we'll pin a chili dog in that for now.
Come back to it later.
Yep. All right. So thank you, Shalane, for adding to our list.
Hey, you know what? The way things are going, we'll take topic ideas wherever we can get them.
Yep.
Yes.
You know we love reading, but sometimes it's hard to find time to physically sit down with a book, which is why the Five-ish Fangirls has proudly partnered with Audible. Audible is a leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs. Whatever makes you squee, there's a perfect listen for you. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals. Whether you're adventuring through time and space, running from dinosaurs, or capturing ghosts, with the free app, audiobooks go where you go. You can download titles and listen offline, anytime, anywhere. Even if you switch devices, you'll never lose your place. And right now, Five-ish Fangirls listeners can sign up for a free 30-day trial by going to audibletrial.com/5ishfangirls. That's 30 days to check out not only their huge collection of audiobooks, but also podcasts, guided wellness programs, theatrical performances, A-list comedy, and exclusive Audible originals you won't find anywhere else. So continue the joy of reading with Audible. Don't see a title that trips your trigger one month? No problem. Your credit will roll over to the next month, and you can quit anytime and keep the books you've acquired forever. For more details and to sign up for your free 30-day trial, visit audibletrial.com/5ishfangirls. That's audibletrial.com/5ishfangirls. And now, back to the podcast. All right, so moving on, in the serendipitous that is Shalane's feedback.
Well, and also, I don't know how many posts I've seen just from various Facebook things saying, it's been 50 years since 101 Dalmatians came out in theaters. I'm like, well, that's a good thing we're talking about it today.
Yeah, except it's not been 50 years, it's been 60
or 60 years. Okay, somebody said 50, and I was like, okay.
50 was 10 years ago.
Right. I don't know. I was just...
Yeah.
That's what they said, so maybe they goofed. And I was just kind of scrolling down.
Yeah. According to my math, 1961
yes
was 60 years ago.
Yes.
You are correct.
Yes.
Which is really weird to think about.
Yeah. That means that Doctor Who's going to be celebrating its 60th anniversary in 2 years. But anyway.
That's crazy.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yes. We'll worry about that in a couple more years.
Holy cow. Anyway.
So actually today, as we're recording this, it's been 60 years since the animated 101 Dalmatians was released by Disney, and then coming up, because it was a like Christmas time release, the live action 101 Dalmatians was released in 1996. So it too is celebrating it was a Thanksgiving, still holiday. It was a holiday-ish release.
End of
November,
the year.
November 27th, 1996. So that's 25 years for the live action. Which I've seen both. I've never seen either of the sequels. Both have sequels. I don't really care for watching either of the sequels, but I have seen the OG.
Yeah. The live action sequel, I think I remember seeing in theaters. It was fine. I think because the live action, well, first off, it wasn't, in this glut of live action cash grabs, obviously. But I mean, I didn't get to watch all of it yesterday, but I watched some of it, and it's been years since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But it is different enough that it's like, oh, this is interesting and cool and fun. Like, Anita works for Cruella in the beginning, she works for her fashion design company, and she's a great designer. And Glenn Close plays Cruella, and she is like chewing the scenery. It's
Oh
like,
my God, yes.
I think there's some. I think she had some
kills it.
Yes, and my favorite thing about the live action one is that all these people, like Anita, Roger, and even Nanny, they're all just kind of normal people to for all intents and purposes. And then you have Cruella, who's just like over the top, and everyone just treats it like a normal thing. And they do that to an extent in the animated one, but it really comes out in the live action. I don't know if that's because it's live action or it was just a director choice or whatever, or an acting choice. But it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And then Hugh Laurie, as I think he played Jasper.
Yes, Hugh Laurie, and then I this was
and Mark
before
Williams
Harry Potter.
Of course. So
yeah, I mean. This is before Harry Potter, so when I was a kid and I saw this, I didn't recognize him. But now watching it, I'm like, it's Mr. Weasley, or if you're a Doctor Who fan, it's Rory's dad.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Either is acceptable.
Yeah. So for me, it'd been a long time since I had watched both, and reading up on the history of the cartoon. Quite interesting. I did not realize that the story was based on a book that actually had been published a decade before. So there you go. Now it's been 70 years since the book, or it's been 65 years since the book was published.
Yeah.
And 5 years before.
Unlike Walt Disney adapting, Mary Poppins, and we know some of the drama with that. Dodie Smith was actually very flattered and very excited to have the book.
She wanted him to turn it into a movie, unlike Mary Poppins, where she dragged her feet the entire time. Dottie Smith was all like, as she's writing the book, she's like, oh, I hope Disney really turns this into a cartoon. And then they did, and then she was like, this is actually better than my book.
Yeah. I like, she said that there were things that they put in the movie that she wished she'd have thought of for the book, which I've never read the book, and I'm like, I want to read the book. I need to find it.
Yeah.
So.
Same.
And I love the nods. Sorry to jump ahead, but I love the nods that we do get to see we get cameos from some of the dogs from Lady and the Tramp.
Yes.
Because this was kind of that time where they were starting to, for better or worse, they were starting to kind of recycle some animation. And the what is it called? There's a word for it, but basically they Xerox the cells.
That's what they were doing is photocopy technology was now a thing.
Yeah, so you get that kind of that start of that sketchy Disney look, which
Yeah.
in this one it's kind of charming, and this was the first time they did it, and then it just
Even
kind of
though
stuck
Walt
around.
hated it, apparently.
Yeah, Walt hated it, but they kept it, because he passed away a few years later.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of that era of Disney is known for the kind of sketchy.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
looking.
they needed a hit, but they
Yes.
also needed to keep costs as low as possible because they were coming off of Sleeping Beauty had been their last major release, and it flopped.
Which
essentially.
I had no idea if Sleeping Beauty flopped.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because nowadays it's like, oh, it's one of their greatest, biggest, most successful or beloved things, and at the time they were just like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
just
and
kinda-
and Disneyland had opened in 55, so
Right.
that was expensive. And
Yeah.
now so Walt's time and money and everything is getting split, not just the studio, but now the theme park.
Mm-hmm.
So the studio, what money they would make in feature films and even shorts, but just generating stuff from the studio was helping to pay for the theme park. So it's like if the studio goes under, the theme park's probably going to go under. So
yeah, it was
this perpetual feeding each other. The money just goes from one Disney entity to the other. So
yeah, and it's kind of interesting to see that in that we think about Disney now, and they own everything, and they have the theme parks, and they have TV, they have the movies, and Disney Plus, and Marvel, and blah blah blah, all Star Wars, all the stuff. But at this time, it was like Disney was just one of many. And Walt had so many ideas and so many things going on that people, the people that worked for him were like, they believed in him, but also it was kind of hard to keep up with the man because he was just like doing everything that he could possibly get his hands on. And you kind of put on your running shoes and take your vitamins, because here we go, kids. Just hold on, because Walt's got another idea and he's gonna do it.
Yep.
So, but anyway, 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that it became a classic, even though watching it you kind of think, well, it's not a fairy tale, it's not
a musical,
even though Roger is a music composer.
Yeah.
But the music, the song Cruella de Vil is in universe.
Yeah.
He writes it.
Yeah.
But it's a sweet story, and it's like Cruella has become one of the main big Disney villains. Although you think about it, like you have all the evil queen from Snow White, or Maleficent, she's got her magic and all that. Captain Hook wants revenge on Peter Pan. You just think of all these villains, and then Cruella de Vil, what does she want? She wants a coat. Now she's
made out of puppies.
Made out of puppies. Now, yes, she does. But when you boil it down to it, it's like she's not trying to take over the world. She's not trying to she doesn't want to rule anything. She wants a fur coat made out of puppies, which is horrible.
Oh yeah.
But it's not world domination level of, and it's like they brought her in Once Upon a Time.
Yes.
And as one of the queens of darkness, and they're like, wait a minute, she doesn't have magic. She has a car and a fur coat, so they had to kind of make up something for her. But she is just that memorable and that outrageous and that over the top that she came into she's just part of the pantheon of memorable Disney villains, and I think that is hilarious and wonderful, because she's horrible. She's a horrible person. You love watching her.
Yeah.
Just being so over the top, and it's entertaining to watch. Whether it's animated live action, and in the end, especially in the animated one, like she's trying to run this truck off the road to get to the puppies, and her eyes are just this glowing red and flashing, and she's trashed her car just so she can get these puppies. And I'm like, lady, priorities.
Right?
Yeah. But just like how manic she gets at the end.
Yeah.
In both movies, but especially in the animated, where like they, you know, where her eyes are flashing and she's just driving just erratically, and I'm like, this woman is absolutely bonkers.
Yes.
It's absolutely off her you know, off her
Off the
rocker.
rocker. Yeah.
And it's just she is scary.
Yes, and she doesn't even have to
Yes.
turn herself into a dragon to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
No
Yeah.
disrespect meant to
Roger-
Maleficent, but holy cow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Yeah.
Roger, first thing off the bat, when the puppies go missing, he pegs, hey, it's her. And the wife's like,
Yes.
Roger, no. It's just like, yeah.
Well, and legally, there's not a lot they can do, because Anita even
Right.
says that she's been cleared by the police, and
Right.
they don't have anything else to do. Like these humans, they are not useless people. They have done everything they can, and
Yeah.
Pongo and Perdita are even like, they've done everything we can. It's up to us, and so they just, the dogs,
Yeah.
dogs.
Which
The
they get
final
around
part.
that in the live action by having that subplot of the tiger getting killed
Yes.
and then finding
Yeah.
the pelt at Cruella's house.
Yes. So
Yeah,
so they
so-
do get
Yeah.
they get which I like. I mean, I don't like that they killed okay, I like for the story purposes that they added that in there to kind of, give her give the humans a reason to hate her.
Yeah.
Even though, in the animated they don't really, I mean, they just kind of leave her off to the side of the road with a broken car, and she's crashed, and just with her henchman right there.
Yeah.
But in the live action, she actually gets her legal comeuppance in the human world, and it's delicious. And who won the gold medal in the Moron Olympics?
Yeah. It's just the storytelling in this is just for it just kind of being it's fairly straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
all things
Mhm.
considering, but it's just it when I was watching the cartoon, and it's like, it's really fast paced, it's
Mhm.
like, an hour and a half, if that. And then the live action is that too, even though they've padded in a bit more to flesh out the story. They, in the cartoon, it's like, oh, Anita and Cruella were classmates, and that's it. But now it's like, no, Cruella is a fashion designer, and Anita works there, and they still speed things along though, because like
Mhm.
Roger and Anita meet, and by that evening they're like, let's get married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, for some people it works that way, as that quickly anyway.
Yeah.
But it's part of the story, because I just always remember, I love my favorite part of, okay, maybe not my favorite part, but one of my favorite parts in the movie is when Pongo is looking out the window, and he's like, my pet needs an attractive mate, and he's
Mhm.
looking at all these ladies walking by with their dogs, and I just, when I was a kid, I thought, so does this mean that everybody has to look like their dog? Or the dogs have to look like their
Yeah.
owners after a certain amount of time? I love that. I love that idea. I love those
Mhm.
designs. And anytime I see, artwork where, a dog or any pet looks like their owner, their human, I just get a kick out of it. It's one of my favorite tropes of
Yeah.
Same.
humans looking like their pets.
Mhm.
Or pets looking like they're humans, however you want to say. And they do kind of give a little homage to it in the live action. It's not quite as stylized, but it's so fun to watch. I love it. And then you see him later in the park when Pongo's running around looking for Anita and Purdy, so he can
Mhm.
impress him. But I mean, it seems like it's not that big a deal of Anita and Roger getting together, but it just adds something to another dimension to the human characters. I'm like, yes, this movie is about the dogs, and we love the puppies, and we want to see the puppies be safe, but we want to see them be safe with their humans who love them, who love the parents, and they're just, you love Roger and Anita. They're regular people, and they have regular relationships, and they fall in love, and it seems the story would be lost without that dynamic, without those beginning scenes.
Oh yeah.
It just it needs it, and
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a good bit.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that Pongo takes such good care of his owner.
Yeah.
Instead of your mom saying, "Why aren't you married, and you be happy," and it's your dog telling you,
Yeah.
you need a
Right.
mate. You need a mate.
Yes. The dog knows.
The dog knows what'll make you happy.
Yep.
And if the human mate comes with an attractive doggy mate, then
Of the same
dog
breed?
of the same breed, then sure.
Yeah.
More the better.
Win-win for us all.
Everyone gets
Yeah.
what they need and what they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Pongo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. As adorable as the the antics are in the cartoon, just something about watching the live action is my first time watching it in a long time. Probably when it was new, actually, is probably the last time I've seen it. So watching it after all these years, after having personal experience with the breed, I found it way more amusing.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're using trained dog actors. Both Pongo and Purdy are actual dogs. A lot of the puppies are actual live puppies, and there are some spots where they're obvious CGI, where they're like going down like the tube or whatever, trying to get out of the house. Yeah, the pipe.
Yeah.
Like, obvious that CGI, and like at the end when they're watching the kid play the video game and they're all leaning the same way and their heads are all going this, it's like that's all CGI, but they still used actual like Dalmatian puppies when they could, and these are trained actors, dogs. They're trained to do what they're trained to do, but still the breed is just spot on. Just the some of the facial
No pun intended.
yeah, just some of the facial expressions and some of the things they do. I'm like, yeah, that is just the breed. The Dalmatian, a they're not a breed you see often, especially in the United States. So whenever my mom is on her 4th Dalmatian, her first was actually a Dalmatian lab mix, which is funny considering in the cartoon they're like, "Look, I'm a Labrador." her first was a black lab Dalmatian mix. He looked like a black lab, except on his chest and on his hands. That's where he had the spot. So it looks like he was wearing a spotted like tuxedo shirt and gloves.
Aw, that sounds so cute.
Yeah. So he was a good dog. That was Pongo.
Nice.
And then we had a Purdy, who was a full-blooded Dalmatian. And had those were the two my mom had actually when Chauncey and I first started dating. So although Purdy was quite old, so she ended up passing actually before we got married. So yeah, so we for a while there, when I was still living at home and in college and stuff, we had a Pongo and a Birdie, and both would get a lot of attention, but the full-blooded Dalmatians tend to get a bit more attention.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and then she got Buster, who she rescued as a puppy from she was made known about him by a friend of hers who is a breeder. And she rescued him because Buster was born deaf, which is actually a common occurrence in the breed. They can be born deaf. It is quite common, or deaf in just one ear, actually. Essentially, it's I don't know if it's essentially deaf in one ear, but I guess that's the easiest way to describe it. Is they're, instead of being bilateral hearing, which is what most people are, you hear out of both ears, but then you can tell, from what direction a sound is coming from based on what ear it's going into. So the Dalmatians can be unilateral hearing, so they can hear you, but they can't tell what direction your voice is coming from. But in Buster's case, he was completely deaf. And unfortunately, with the AKC and a lot of the show, if you're into showing dogs, there's a lot of misconceptions, really, just when it comes to deaf dogs in general. A lot of people think that deaf dogs are dangerous because, if they can't hear you and you approach them and you startle them, they might bite. And they're stupid because they can't hear commands and stuff. So a lot of the hoity-toity dog breed organizations, when you're born with a deaf dog in a purebred situation, their recommendation is to euthanize. Yeah, which my mom was not going to have that. So when her friend called, she's like, yeah, we've got this litter of puppies that was just born. One of them's deaf. If it goes missing, I won't say anything. And that's pretty much what happened, actually, is she puppy napped Buster and took him as soon as he could be separated from his mother, and he ended up becoming her first service dog, which just tells you how not stupid deaf dogs are. Because he was able to go through not just therapy dog training, where he could go to things like hospitals and schools and meet with kids and that sort of thing. But then when my mom became ill and needed an actual service dog, he was able to go through that training as well and get fully certified in that. And as soon as she got him, she started teaching him commands via sign language, because my mom is completely fluent in sign language. So since she got him so early and started training him right off the bat, he was able to go through and get trained in all the stuff that a hearing dog could do. No problem. Sometimes he was still dumb as a doornail, but it had nothing to do. I always like to say he was book smart, but not street smart. Because he would do things like chase a ball and run into the wall because he would forget to stop. Because he was so focused on chasing the ball. Yeah. It's like, hey, there's a ball there. No, it's like, I must get the ball.
Breaks. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
No, I love. I mean, I've had a lot of work farm dogs throughout my
Yeah,
life.
and that's the thing too, is Dalmatians are considered, well, they're not a working breed. They're in as far as like if you watch dog shows, they're considered non-sporting, that category. But they are a working breed. They are one of those breeds that if you give them a task, they're going to do really well, and that's why Buster did so well as a service dog. That's why you see them at play, the whole Dalmatian at a fire station is they do. That's a breed that does really, really well if they have a job.
Yeah. And it's just so fascinating when you have a dog like that and they have those personality quirks, but in the end, like we had a dachshund, Scout, that she's a dachshund, but she'd go herd cows. And my dad constantly said, like, if he had that little dog's brain in a big dog's body, that would be the perfect cow herding dog, because like we'd have Australian shepherds and border collies all when I was growing up, and we ended up with this little dachshund, and yeah, those working breeds, it's just amazing just how well they know what to do, just on instinct, it seems. And so yeah, I love stories like that, like you got a smart dog, but he's too dumb to stop before he hits the wall.
Yeah,
and bless his heart. So but good boy, Buster.
He was a very good dog, and he was a very, very good service dog to my mom, until we lost him last year, unfortunately, to cancer. And then Kissy was the other Dalmatian who my mom took in after she was retired from being a show dog. When she got too old to show, my mom took her in. And essentially my mom became her retirement home post beauty pageant life. And she was the princess. That's the best way to put it. Kissy was the princess. But we've also lost her in the last couple of years, and now my mom has Nash, who is a rescue, who is now her new service dog. So, and again, full Dalmatian, not deaf, but still full Dalmatian. He's still young. He's not quite a year old, or about a year old. And has gone through all of the training and everything, and kind of like Buster, he's very smart when it comes to service dog stuff. When it comes to regular dog stuff, kind of stupid. But
you love him anyway.
Because they're cute. And so we've had 4, well, if you count Pongo, 4.5 Dalmatians, because he was only half. So, but yeah, so I have a lot of experience with the breed.
Yes, you do.
Oh, they're a good breed, especially for something like if you need a service animal, something that can do a task, a job. But they are very active. I think Kissy was the exception, just because she came from being a show dog, and they're trained to, stay still while they're being judged. So she didn't really like to play. The other dogs would get to playing, and she'd be up on her perch, and if they got too close, she'd be like, like, stay away from my throne.
Like, I'm the boss, you go away.
Yeah, but they are a very active breed, so you definitely need a yard of some sort for them to run around, someplace for them to run around. And I hope you like dog hair, because with Dalmatians, you're never going to get away from it ever again. You're going to be finding it for the rest of your life. Okay, so with dogs, you have hair, and then you have fur. So dog hair, there's some dogs that have hair, so it's like human hair, like what we just run your hands through your hair. And if you've ever felt a dog that's felt like that, they have hair. And then you have dogs that have fur. And the Dalmatians fur hair, I call it abomination. despite what the proper term is. While it's short, if you look at a hair, if you get a piece and look at it under a microscope or something, you will see that unlike a lot of other breeds where, if you get it on you, you can, brush it off, maybe use a vacuum cleaner or a lint roller, that sort of thing. The Dalmatian, for all the God-loved spots and the wet noses, has barbs on the end of their little hair.
Lovely.
So when it falls onto something like your couch or your coat, it's going to hook onto it and get stuck for all of eternity.
So why the heck would Cruella want a coat? Well, okay, she wanted the puppy coat, but
yeah,
still, why would
well,
you
I
want
mean,
a coat
well, and the puppies are very, very soft. It's it's like they're like little clouds of just spots.
Yeah.
Although there are some, depending on the breeding, that even when they grow up and are no longer puppies, they'll still retain that super soft, sleek coat. Buster was like that. And he knew it too. He knew he was a good-looking dog.
It's like, that's me.
Yes.
Loves me.
Yeah. And Kissy was the same way too, because they were cousins. So they were genetically from the same family tree. And their relations up the family tree had very, very soft coats. So Nash, still kind of soft, but again, he's still young. We'll see when he gets several years older if that stays the same. So, and the build is interesting too. It was definitely interesting watching, because I'm so used to very slender dogs, because Buster was like very, very slim his entire life. So not only was he deaf, he was the runt of the litter. And Nash is kind of that way too, where he's on the slender side, and so was Kissy, but she although she got a little fat there towards the end when she was no longer having to be shown, and we just it's like, you don't have to impress anybody now.
She retired.
Yeah, she retired. But so watching the live action, and I can almost, I know it's because of the plot, but I can almost see why Roger confused that Purdy for his dog, because that Purdy is not as slender as I would expect a female Dalmatian to look. So, but again, that's just my experience with the ones I've been around. So,
which
this has been Dalmatian 101 with Rachel.
Hey, it's more experience than I've ever had with Dalmatians.
If you got questions, please send us an email, and I may or may not forward it on to my mom, depending on what the question is. But these are the things that you need to know, before getting a dog. Because it wasn't so much an issue when the cartoon came out, but when the live action was released, there was a
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, I remember. I guess I was 11. I guess when I was not quite 11. And I mean, I never wanted a Dalmatian because, we had our cow dogs, and at the time we had our Australian Shepherd, who, I'd had him since I was 3, and he was my buddy. And so I'm like, I don't need another dog. But I do remember hearing stuff in the news that, kids, like, they see the movie and like, I want a Dalmatian, and people were in the news, experts were warning, like, they're kind of high maintenance, and after a while, you need a yard, you need this, you need that, and if you got to be prepared, because it's not just a toy. If you want a toy, go get a stuffed animal of a Dalmatian, and that's
go to Toys R Us, because they still existed at the time.
So
I'm pretty sure I had a couple 101 Dalmatian stuffed animals from Toys R Us at that time.
Well, I remember McDonald's and the Happy Meal did 101 Happy Meal toys, and it was around Christmas, so they were also Christmas ornaments. I don't know if we still have any of those hanging around, but I remember that we had all those, and it was like, and they all had names, because I guess they gave names to all 101s in the movie. I don't know, that they weren't mentioned in the movie, but apparently in the script.
But between the cartoon and the live action, not even the 15 all have names.
I just remember the McDonald's one. They had names.
Yeah.
in the little Happy Meal things, and like people were trying to collect, like grown-ups who didn't have kids were trying to collect all of them, and like would buy hundreds of Happy Meals just so they could get the toy. And I'm like, okay, I'm not that.
It's like they're Happy Meal toys. They're not Pokemon. You don't need to catch them all.
I know. And this was the time of Pokemon as well. I was like, that's fine. But yeah, like I just remember that time. It was like Dalmatians were everywhere. The 101 Dalmatian thing was, and it was like, it was interesting. It was kind of an odd time to be paying attention to movies or things like that. But man, they advertise the heck out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that worked out for the writer of this movie, because the screenplay was written by John Hughes, who we've talked about recently when talking about Home Alone.
Yes,
he made more money on this movie than any other in his career because his contract afforded him a percentage of the merchandising.
Well, there you go.
Nice. Smart.
There was so much Dalmatian merchandise when that came out, and it was interesting because as I was watching the live action one, the credits are rolling. I'm like, oh, John Hughes was involved in this, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, well, that's a John Hughes thing. That's a John Hughes thing. That is that. Like, it's just like, even even the music kind of felt a little Home Alone-ish, even though it wasn't John Williams doing the music. But there were just some.
No, that was is Alan Menken. Or not Alan Menken. Michael Kamen did the music, I believe. So
yeah, but it's like, this is so a John Hughes movie, and I don't know. I mean, I guess because I was 11, I didn't really notice it at the time. But so it's so maybe that's why this one, this version, this live action, the live action remake is just, it's so charming and it's fun, and it's like, it's because it has somebody involved who actually knows how to make fun and charming movies. Who's a proven entity in that kind of a thing. So it's, I'll like. And like, I was watching it with Alex, and a few months ago, Alex was just all about watching the animated 101 Dalmatians. He wanted to watch puppies, and that's what we watched all the time. So I was like, well, I've seen the animated one. I need to watch the live action. And and I sat down and turned it on, and I thought he was going to run off or be mad that I was not turning on the cartoon one, but he like kind of snuggled up to me and was watching the live action one. And he liked it. I mean, we didn't get to finish it because we had some stuff going on last night. But but as much as we got to watch, he was right there with it. And I'm like, well, you got the 3-year-old's approval, even with the dated video game controller and stuff. I'm just, or the computer comes up. It's like, hello, Pongo. I'm like, oh my gosh, that computer is so old.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was cutting edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so. It's good that he again, we were talking about Cruella, that Glenn Close didn't scare him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there were some times, like, because when she came in after the puppies were born and her hair is like sticking up everywhere, and I thought that he was gonna be like freaking out, but I mean, he sat through the animated one, so I guess he just kind of figured, oh, it's the same lady, I can do this.
Yeah. Well, good for him, because apparently she scared some of the actual dogs on set.
I imagine.
When she came in on full costume with the wig and everything. So yeah, apparently one of the dogs playing Purdy kept trying to run away.
Oh my goodness.
So, And no animals were harmed in the filming of this movie. All of Cruella's furs were fake.
Yeah. I kind
Glenn
of
Close
figured.
insisted that they were all faux. Because, I mean, they could have went and got vintage fur, which for some people is gray area when it comes to furs. Because, you know, if it's vintage, it's like no new animals are being killed, but still an animal was killed at some point. But,
Yeah.
but
Although,
that's, you know, but in this case, they were all fake furs.
Yeah.
So.
Which is kind of amazing on the prop department's part when they pull out the white tiger pelt. And like when I was a kid, I actually thought that that was an actual tiger that they killed for the movie.
Yeah, no.
And I was like, what? And then now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, they would have made that, fake that up. So made a prop for it. So, but it was, I mean, it was a good looking prop for what it, for what it was.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, several of Glenn Close's costumes as Cruella de Vil are actually in storage down in Bloomington at IU.
Wow.
Yep. She donated her costume collection to the School of Art in 2017. So she donated to and they've got a state-of-the-art archival center, and so they've got those all. They were on display when they first went, but now they're in storage and archive, presumably to be used by students for theater and stuff and that sort of thing. Learn about costuming, crafting, and that sort of thing. But yeah, she actually has been working with IU for a nonprofit that she founded called Bring Change to Mind, which is a foundation to help destigmatize mental illness.
Interesting.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember seeing the message that the email that went out, because I work for IU, both Chauncey and I do, and they're like, Glenn Close has donated her entire costume collection to IU, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Like, wow.
And that includes several outfits of Cruella's.
Did you
both from
see them
101
when they were?
and 102? No, nope. I didn't. I barely go to Bloomington as it is, so I should have while they were on display, but I didn't get a chance to at the time. So, but it is cool to see, watch the movie and see the costumes, and I'm like, I know where those are. Kind of.
I know the zip code.
Yeah. I've been in that general area. So, yeah. Oh, puppies.
Yeah.
So.
It's just such an interesting concept for a story, in a book. I mean, I'm kind of curious, like, if Dottie Smith has ever said, like, what gave her the idea for that kind of story of, like, kidnapping puppies to make a coat, and
how she came up with Cruella as a villain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of Cruella, that was the actress, the voice actress who played her in the animated movie. But yeah, a lot of it, some of it, as I understand it, came from the book, but a lot of it is the performance, and so that's what you what you associate with it. And as far as I've been able to tell, like the author, Dottie Smith, was like, that's great. She loved it, and had a lot of fun with it. So, and a lot of it also too was them. They did because you look when you watch the credits, and I was like, there were some names in there. I'm like, oh, I wonder that I recognized from other Disney productions, or that you remember from that you remember hearing, and they're like, well, who's that? Who's that? And actually, there's one, and I can't remember her name. That she played Cruella, but she played her on film so that the animators would have reference to animate Cruella, and she's actually credited in the credits and on the official record, I guess, as playing Cruella, even though she was just quote unquote just the animators reference. Let me see if I can find that now that I'm thinking about it. But it's just interesting that when that they put that credit in there. Okay, that's the novel. Oh, there it is. That's right. They actually spell out 101, not just the number.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, Mary Wicks. That's why I was like, oh, she Mary Wicks was Cruella's live action model, and she's actually because they listed Mary Wicks in the credits. I'm like, oh, who did she play? She played Cruella. But the live action reference. She wasn't the actual voice, but you know her from all kinds of different movies. Like she was in Hunchback, I believe. Yes, she was Laverne, the gargoyle, and she was Sister Mary Lazarus in Sister Act. So those are movies like that we would know from our. Oh, okay, yeah, and she was in the Music Man, the 1962 version of Music Man. One of the Pick-a-Little ladies.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she's one of those actresses that you're like, you might not know the name, but you've seen her in certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some touchstones there. So I'm trying to see in her TV listing if there's anything. Well, she's in Bonanza.
As you do.
Yes.
That's the American equivalent of the Brits doing Shakespeare and or Dickens. If you're an American actor, you do a Western at some point.
Yes. Well, my dad's totally into Bonanza and Western, so as I was growing up, I caught several episodes of Bonanza. I couldn't tell you which ones they were. I just remember that I watched them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, Mary Wicks, she gets a credit, but not for voice, but as the live action model of Cruella, which I thought was awesome.
So, as we mentioned, both the cartoon and the live action have sequels that, again, kind of follow the same plot, where Cruella has been arrested and she gets out and she goes crazy again. So
yeah, it's kind of this worked before, let's do it again. Although in the live action, she's reformed in prison, so she's totally not going to kidnap puppies again. No, she's gonna do it.
Yeah.
So don't believe her. Although it is so funny to see Glenn Close playing Cruella, and she's this sweet and innocent. Oh, I feel so bad, and then now she's not. Or she changes back to she's so cruel. But,
and then there was a cartoon TV series that ran from 97 to 98.
Yeah, that was when Disney was making they were making animated series of all their big movies. And they're like, well, this was a live action movie, so let's do this.
Yeah. So that was 101 Dalmatians, the series. And then there was 101 Dalmatians Street, which has been running since 2019, which is another animated series that follows the adventures of Dylan and his stepsister Dolly. Dylan is a descendant of Pongo and Perdita. And it was, it aired They had sneak peeks in 2018, officially premiered in the UK on March 18th, 2019, and in Canada it was released as a series on Disney Plus last year. And then Cruella, has appeared in places like Chrissy said. She was a character in Once Upon a Time. And then Cruella's son Carlos is in the Descendants movies.
Okay. I guess they're a big thing. I haven't really gotten into it, but
yeah. And then we've got the I guess Cruella origin story movie that has been kept getting pushed because of the pandemic, but is supposedly due out this year, which is just going to be called Cruella with Emma Stone as the young Cruella.
I kind of forgot that was going to be a thing.
I did too, but now that you've mentioned it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, Glenn Close is executive producing it, so
okay.
But right now it's scheduled to be released in theaters end of May this year.
No word on if it's been postponed or.
Well, it was already postponed because
it
came out last year.
Okay. Well.
But yeah, Emma Stone's gonna be playing Cruella, aka Estella, apparently before she changes her name. And then Emma Thompson's gonna be in it, who I guess is gonna play the mentor, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guess we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out when it's released.
Yeah.
All right then.
Yep.
So plenty of Dalmatian goodness still to come.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's good.
Yep.
We shall see.
Yes, we will. So how you guys feeling about our discussion? Anything else you want to add to it?
I just want one thing is what I like about the live action is I kind of like that the animals didn't talk.
Yeah, like it would have been so easy for them to do, like, oh, let's have the dogs talk, but this one it's more, they're they have their where they look or their facial expressions, whether it's the actual dog or they do it in CG, which there were some like, oh yeah, that's obviously CG. But yeah, I kind of like that because it's again, it's not a carbon copy of the animated, and it's something they do it a little different, and it's fun to watch. It's charming and cute, and sometimes, especially in live action, I think I'd rather just see the dog act, and not try to put a voice over it or intrude it on it with a whole bunch of CGI. Like, let's just have this dog act like a dog.
I did like the whole miming thing when they were that one dog was getting the farm animals to like say these puppies have been kidnapped and miming it with it being in the bag and hopping like a human.
Oh yes, it is. I don't know. I think it feels like there's more, I guess, talent behind it because you've got the people who've trained them and helping them do that, but that they've been doing this, and it feels like it's something new and unique and interesting to see. Whereas you can easily put a voice actor and say, oh yes, I'm talking for this dog or this cat, this animal right now, and it's not as charming in live action. I think that's my take on it. So anyway, but yeah, 101 Dalmatians, it's a gem. It's mean, it's not the typical Disney fairy tale fantasy musical thing, but it's a favorite. It's kind of that cozy, comfortable story that is it's just fun, and there are puppies involved. How can you go wrong with that?
Mm-hmm. Even if they're not corgis. There is a corgi.
Yeah, I remember when I was watching it
corgi. There is not
during the wedding
a
scene.
single one. Yeah, there's not a single one in the cartoon, which you would think, since it's set in London of all places, that, you know, when Pongo is doing his looking at the dogs who match their people, that there could have been a corgi. And in the live action, when they're out in the park and there's all these dogs all over the place, not a single corgi, not until you get to Roger and Anita's wedding and they open up the doors and there's all those dogs out in lawn. There is a corgi. I'm like, this is set in London. You include raccoons, which are not native to England and therefore would actually be in this movie, but you only have one corgi.
You have offended Rachel.
You have.
Bow down and pay.
They better fix that with the Cruella movie.
Yes. Well, you know, if there's ever a movie about someone trying to steal corgi pups for a fur coat.
I don't think corgis would make very good fur coat. Maybe pillows.
Yeah. Probably.
I'm not endorsing killing corgis to make pillows. I'm just saying.
You know what?
They're the right size and shape for pillows.
No. Okay, have you guys heard of Squishables?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I gotta see. Is there a corgi Squishable? There's gotta be one.
Oh, I'm sure there probably is.
That would be perfect. Okay. Oh no, they have a Squishable baby corgi. Then they have corgis in costume. So there's a devil corgi, an angel corgi, a frog corgi, a robot corgi, an avocado, a soccer ball, a football, and an elephant.
They should get the devil and angel and name a Crawley and Zero Tail.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it looks like the costume ones are the smaller ones, so they're a little cheaper than the big $45 squishable baby corgi. So there you go, Rachel.
There we go.
There's
my
your
birthday's coming up. I'm just saying.
Your birthday present. Go to Squishable. Oh no, there's even more. There's a basketball. There's an astronaut. There's an octopus. Oh my gosh, there's a Santa.
Undercover corgi.
Yeah, undercover corgi.
There's an astronaut.
Yes. So there
the
you
astronaut
go.
is adorable. I like the astronaut.
Yeah.
The unicorn is fun too.
We're gonna get you one of these, Rachel. You pick one, and we'll pool together, and this will be your birthday present.
Yeah.
And Squishable, if you want to sponsor us, totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, there's an avocado one.
Oh goodness.
Oh boy.
The football one is weird.
Yeah.
The non-round shape is just kind of wrong.
Yeah. I was just thinking as a pillow, I'm like, no, wait, there's got to be a Squishable corgi. Yeah. There just has to be.
That's
and there you go.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, on that note, if any of our listeners want to send in feedback and talk about this movie or the live action or the spin-offs or anything else that's going on, or just to send in a couple bucks for Rachel's birthday present, well, that goes to the money goes to Patreon, but you can send us feedback at our email address, which is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com. And you can find links to all of our social medias and leave comments there. You can find links to all the ways to support the show and links to where you can download the podcast. We are on pretty much all the major podcast places and even some slightly less major ones. So check us out. As always, thank you for your support. Thank you for the feedback, the comments, the shares, the Patreon, the Amazon stuff, whatever it is you do to help support us. We cannot thank you enough, and hope you all are doing well out there and staying safe with whatever's going on, and that you're enjoying whatever you're doing. And corgis. You know,
Puppies.
corgis and Dalmatians. I feel like if Rachel ever got a corgi and a Dalmatian together, she would probably die from joy.
Yeah. Depends on the Dalmatian.
Well, yes, that too.
They're really cute when they're puppies, but when they grow up, they can become stupid dogs now.
But they're charming.
Yes.
They're stupid in a charming way.
They're definitely biters, though. It's like when Cruella first shows. No, when Horace and Jasper go to kidnap the puppies in the live action, and one of the guys gets bit on the hand. Like, yep, I remember Dalmatian puppy bites. They hurt. They like to chew. Buster loved to nip on everything. So, and his teeth were like needles. He was a good dog.
Time? No, teether time.
Yeah. Oh man, that dog could destroy any toy you gave him. Even if it said indestructible, he would figure it out.
Oh yes.
They're, like I said, they're book smart, not necessarily street smart, and sometimes too smart for their own good.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
that one I'll do with you no matter what the breed.
Yep. Oh my. Well, on that note, we have to include some pictures of the Dalmatians in the show image this week. We'll see. I'll have to find some good ones. So, all right.
Yes.
On that note,
pictures of your Dalmatian friends.
Yes. Yeah. Pics for attention. Yeah. So on that note, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. And, again, I know for movie, but unlike Roger and Anita at the end of the live action 101 Dalmatians, to quote Bob Barker, stay and neuter your pets.
Listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at thefivishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/5ishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.